Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be doing a get ready with me using all my 2021 luxury beauty favorites. So for this video, I decided to just choose one product from each category. So you're going to get a really curated list of all my top beauty favorites from the year of 2021. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video and this look I came up with. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and let's just get straight into this look. So for my favorite palette, it was really hard to choose just one favorite. I find it really hard to just narrow things down into a number one favorite of all time, but I did my best to do it, and I just love this Chanel palette, honestly. It is so easy to use. I can use it for any occasion. It is very flattering. It is very pretty makeup. You can wear it day, you can wear it at night. You can build up the color. You can definitely get a more sheer application with these shades, but you can build them up to be a little more dramatic by just adding more product. They are very, very user-friendly. They are beginner-friendly, so I have just been really loving this palette. So to start off with, I'm going to kind of do my favorite look using this palette. So I'm going to start off with this bronze shade right here, and I'm just going to take that on a Sonia G. This is a Blender Pro, and basically going to apply that as my crease color. So I'm going to start by applying it to the outer corner of my eye. And because this is a little bit of a deeper bronze, it's not like a straight-up transition shade. And another thing I really love about this palette is that you don't need a transition shade. I am a fan of using shimmers or something, not like a straight up glitter or anything, but I like using shimmers in the crease. I think they add a beautiful amount of depth, and I do like a sheen. I don't mind that at all. I don't feel like I need to go in with a matte color. But because this is a little deeper, I'm not going to start off applying it into the crease just because it might be a little bit too harsh. And then with that excess product, then I'm going to apply that as my kind of transition shade into the crease, just blending back and forth, and it just looks so pretty. It blends with ease, so nice. But you can see I'm not getting a ton of color payoff right off the bat, but I really like that. I like when things look really soft and you get that natural glam look, but you can build it up. So I'm going to go in with another layer of product just to add a little bit more, why not? And again, I'm going to start on that outer corner, and then just blend it through the crease again. And even though, like I said, it is a shimmer, you can't really detect any straight up shimmer particles on the eye. It's just really soft and pretty. And I do like to do my eyes first just because I'd like to be maybe a little more messy, and then I can get a really clean eye look by just doing my face after, and then that way I have makeup on my face for the least amount of time. I don't know, I just prefer it that way. I think I just get a very clean look, and I'm someone that it really bugs me if I have any, even the teensiest bit of fallout. So for me, just doing my eyes first works the best for me. And then next I'm going to take this golden shade. This is definitely my favorite shade in the palette, and it is also the creamiest shade. So when you feel it, it almost has a buttery consistency in comparison to the other shades. The other shades are a little bit more on the powdery side, but this one is just so creamy and buttery. And it's not, again, it has that shimmer to it where it's a very sophisticated shimmer. There are no glitter chunks. There's no thick particles of shimmer. It is a very soft sheen where it's very refined. So I love that kind of shimmer. Going in with a Sonia G Builder 2 brush, and I am just going to apply this onto the lid from the inner corner to the outer corner, and oh, this shade is just so beautiful. And I do think that you get enough pigmentation by just using a brush. You don't need to go in with your fingers or anything. And this looks beautiful with just one layer. It's never overdone or anything. Just such a lovely sheen. I'm next going to take a Wayne Goss 07 brush. This is basically a pencil brush, and I'm going to dip back into that golden shade. And I'm going to use this along the lower lash line as well. I think I want to open up the eyes a little bit, so I'm going to pop a little bit of this lightest shimmer just on the center of the eyelid, and I'm going to take a really precise brush. So I'm taking the MAC 228 brush. Now this shade in the palette is the most shimmery, I would say. It definitely has, it's not chunky when you feel it, it has that creamy consistency, but there's just a little bit more to it. The shimmer particles aren't as refined as this shade here, which is quite creamy. But so you get a slight bit of, I don't even want to really call it sparkle. It's just shimmer flecks that are dispersed throughout this shadow. But it's such a beautiful light gold shade. So again, taking that on this brush, and then I'm just going to apply it to the center of the lid. You could also just go in with your finger and do this, but I'm just being a little more precise here. And if you guys have not noticed, I'm not a huge eyeliner person. I just think it can be a little bit too harsh on my eyes. I have very small eyes. So sometimes I just feel like it can close my eyes off. So if I ever do an eyeliner with like a pencil, I always smudge it out. But I really just love using a shadow on my eyes because it is so soft and just gives your eyes enough depth and opens them up, but it's never too overwhelming or too harsh. So for this, I'm just going to take the deepest shades in this palette, so this shade right here, and then I'm going to take this shade and I'm literally just going to mix it back and forth. The shade right here has a little bit of that same like sparkle kind of fleck. And it's just a shimmer that has a little bit of a thicker particle. It's definitely no glitter chunks or anything like that because then I would hate it. But again, this one just has a little bit more of that thicker shimmer particle than this one. This is just a beautiful kind of satin sheen here. So just mixing them back and forth. Again, I don't mind using shimmer as like an eyeliner. So I'm just going to line the top lash line, going from the outer corner and working inwards. And I'm not going to bring it all the way across. I'm going to leave like a little bit of a gap there. So I've just cleaned up the under eyes. And again, because this is a bit more of a powdery formula, so this is just a straight up pressed powder formula, you will get a little bit of fallout. And again, which is why I suggest doing the eyes first, which I do not mind. So I've just cleaned up. And then this is something I actually forgot to mention in my best of 2021. And I'm not sure if this is available in the States still, but it is still available in Canada. This is the Chanel Stylo Ombre Contour in the shade Beige Perles. So I am just going to take this. If you don't have this color, just use any sort of brown eyeliner, like a light brown. It's not as deep as like a bronze color. It is like a really beautiful light brown with a hint of warmth and shimmer. It looks so nice. So I'm gonna apply that in the waterline. And then from here, I am just going to add my Dior Lash Maximizer Primer, which is my holy grail lash primer, and then topping that off with 2 coats of the Kjaer Weis I'm Possible or Impossible mascara, and then I'll be back to work on the mascara is on, and I'm going to forgo primer today just because I've already applied my SPF. So the SPF that was my favorite from 2021 is the Chantecaille Ultra Smoothing Primer. This is a fantastic primer. This really, really enhances your makeup when you apply this underneath makeup. So it really preps your skin in a beautiful way. It adds this beautiful veil, and it is slightly hydrating, but it is not greasy, it's not oily. It really just grips your makeup, and the best thing about this is that it is an ultra smoothing primer, so it really smooths out the appearance of texture and pores and gives you a beautiful canvas to start out with. So I've already applied this in my skincare routine, so that is what I currently have on my face. So I'm taking my favorite concealer of 2021. This is the Peau Radiant Corrector for Eyes, and I wear mine in the shade Almond. So it is a clicky pen, so I'm just going to click it like twice. And then I'm just going to run it under the under eyes. So I like to apply it where I am blue, which is basically on the inner corner of my under eye. And then, so this is definitely like a lighter coverage concealer. I would say it's buildable to medium, but it's not going to give you a ton of coverage. And sometimes with this concealer, I'll still see like a tiny bit of blue through. But I don't really mind because I think that looks really natural and I prefer that. And then I'm just going to apply a little bit that's on this outer corner. So what this does is I have a little bit of darkness on this outer corner. So it's going to kind of counteract that darkness. As well, it's going to clean up that shape on my eyes. For my eyeshadow, it basically cleans up that eyeshadow. I really like this concealer because it adds a bit of brightness to the under eyes and a little bit of radiance, but it doesn't have any shimmer to the formula. So you're not going to see any sort of sheen on the under eyes, because I don't think that looks very nice on the under eye area. I like it to look really smooth down there. So this is a very smoothing concealer, and it adds a bit of brightness and just really adds life to your under eyes, which is something that's hard to come by with a concealer. Usually concealers have the tendency to make the area under the eyes look a little dry or heavy. So this is just a really lightweight concealer that adds that beautiful brightness and a slight radiant effect, so that you just look nice and awake and never dry or crepey. I also don't need to set this concealer down with powder, so I really enjoy that as well. And honestly, for foundation, I couldn't narrow it down to one favorite. I really love the Peau Natural Fluid Foundation Natural. It is so, so beautiful. And I love the Chanel Sublimage Foundation, but I feel like I've used those quite a lot on my channel lately. So I am going to go in with the Chantecaille Future Skin Cushion in the shade Nude. So it just comes in this cushion compact, and I have a fresh one in here because I went through the first one. And I'm just going to take a little bit of that on my sponge and just pounce it onto the skin. So I really like this because the texture of this foundation is so thin, so it never feels like you're applying a lot of product. And again, because the texture is so thin, it doesn't look like you're applying a lot of product. You can still see your skin showing through. But this does a beautiful job of smoothing out the skin, smoothing out the appearance of texture on the skin, and really blurring pores. So this is a great kind of filtered effect that it gives on the skin. And I also really enjoy this because there's no sort of radiance to this foundation, and there isn't a matte finish. It's kind of that perfect in between. It is very much like a velvet skin finish. So it looks like skin when you apply it. And because there's no heavy layer on the skin, it will never look cakey or anything. And it really dries down. So I don't feel the need to set this with powder. I think if you have drier skin or mature skin, you don't need to set down this foundation. And it also is transfer resistant, and I'm wondering if that is because the texture of this is so thin. It's just a really beautiful skin enhancing foundation that I would suggest to a lot of people. And I would say you can build it up to medium coverage, definitely not a full coverage foundation, but it can be built up to medium, and I think that's kind of where it shines. And you could also apply it in a light layer if you just want a light coverage as well. So it's a very versatile foundation. Before I move on to bronzer, I'm going to just finish off the eyes. So I'm going to take this lightest champagne kind of, actually it's more like a golden kind of beige shade. I'm going to take that with the same MAC 228 brush. I applied this on the middle of the center of the eye. And I'm just bringing it through the inner crease because I like to add brightness there versus like the very inner corner. You can apply a little bit there, like to the very inside of the inner corner of the top lid, but I don't like to apply it to the tear duct. I just think it looks odd there. And then I'm also going to touch up the lower lash line color, so I'm going to take that kind of golden copper shade, and I'm going to run that along the outer corner of the lower lash line again, and just touch things up. Now, narrowing it down to my favorite bronzer of the year was actually pretty simple for me because I just adore the Charlotte Tilbury Nudegasm face palette. I think the bronzer in here is very flattering on my skin tone. So I'm going to take the deepest bronzer here. That's usually the bronzer that I prefer to work with. If maybe I don't want that much color, I'll mix these two back together. This one's just a little bit more neutral, cooler toned. But this one is more of a warmer toned bronzer. And this is a Big Gelée product. So I'm just going to take a bit on a Refer 22 brush. So you need a bit of a heavier hand to apply this product. And it just goes onto the skin in such a beautiful way. It is very smoothing on the skin. And this doesn't have a sheen to it or anything, but because this is a Big Gelée formula, it melts into the skin. So after about 10 minutes after you apply it, you'll really see it start to settle into the skin, and it never looks too heavy, it never looks overdone on the skin. It just gives you the most beautiful natural bronzed effect. So I just love these formulas. It just looks so polished on the skin, very beautiful. It blends right in, it blends with ease. And then for highlight, I truly love this one in this palette here. It gives you, again, a very beautiful sheen. It is not too overdone or anything. There are no shimmer particles to this one. It gives you that beautiful wet glow. It almost looks like you've applied a liquid product to the skin. But just to switch it up and talk about a different product, this is the Chanel Pearl de Lumiere Illuminating Blush Powder. I love this one basically equally as much. I will say that there is a difference between the two. Now, these are both of that Big Gelée formula, so they both really just melt into the skin, give you a beautiful glow on your skin without it looking overdone, without it looking too much. But this one is even less intense than the Charlotte Tilbury. So it gives you even more of like a lit from within glow and looks even more natural than the Charlotte Tilbury. And I just think the color of this is beautiful. So if you want something that is even less intense than this, which this is, I wouldn't even call this an intense highlighter. It is not blinding in the slightest. It really just enhances your skin versus you seeing highlighter on your skin. This does the exact same thing, just more subtle. So I'm going to take this on a Sonia G mini cheek and apply this to the cheekbones, and it just, yeah, blends right in. It looks like you are applying a liquid highlighter or a cream highlighter, but it's way less finicky than a cream highlighter because it's actually going to dry down on the skin. You're not going to have anything tacky. It's not going to transfer. It's not going to accentuate texture, which sometimes I find cream products actually do. And they can emphasize pores a little bit, but this does none of the above. It's just so flattering. And for a blush, now I was tempted to go with the Tom Ford blushes as my #1 favorite from 2021, But I wish they had this in a different color. So I wish they had a color that was similar to like the Inhibition blush that Tom Ford originally had, because it's a very neutral tone, kind of just your cheeks but enhanced. It's almost like a nude bronzer. These ones are a little bit punchier, so they add a bit more color to your cheeks, which I don't mind. But I just like something for every day, any occasion. I like something that's a little more neutral toned, that kind of has a perfect mix of like pink and bronze and nude and peach. All those colors in one. I just think it's your cheeks but better, very skin enhancing. And this is my #1 favorite from 2021. This is the Dior Rouge blush in the shade 459 Charnelle. And this is exactly what that blush does for me. It gives me my cheeks but better. And it really just enhances the skin when you apply it. So I really like that. It doesn't emphasize texture in any way. There is like an ever so soft sheen to it, but there's no shimmer to it at all, because again, I don't like shimmer in my cheek products. And this is a very buildable blush. It's definitely pigmented, so I would just go in and work slowly. But it's a great formula and it has great longevity as well. And then my favorite powder of the year, again, this is something I tried at the end of the year, but this is like unquestionable. It had to be the Peau Refining Pressed Powder. I am just obsessed with this powder. It is truly the most refining powder on my skin that I have ever tried. It never looks powdery, it never looks cakey. It doesn't add any coverage or texture to the skin. It just kind of sets down your foundation, but what it does the best job at is adding that filtered look, that blurred effect to your skin. Truly a phenomenal product that I hear no one talk about, but it is literally the best powder that I have ever tried in my life. So I love that. And I realize that it might seem like I'm doing powder out of order, but I like to apply powder last, because I find if I'm not going in with like a buffing powder, it just blends all the edges of my products together. So then there are no harsh lines from where I've applied like bronzer, blush, and highlight. And it really just blends everything together more seamlessly. And then to finish off the look, I didn't have a favorite lip liner of 2021, so I'm just going to take my Holy Grail Old Faithful Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in the shade Pillow Talk. So I'm going to line my lips and fill them in. And if I could only recommend one lip product for the year of 2021, it would definitely be the Tom Ford Gloss Luxe Brilliant in the shade In the Buff. So this is basically a lip gloss. And I just think, one, this shade is very flattering. It's like a peachy pink nude with shimmer that's dispersed through it. But when you apply the gloss, you don't feel the shimmer on the skin, on the lips, sorry. So sometimes if you have maybe something that's not as refined or as luxe as this formula, you can feel that grittiness of the shimmer. You cannot at all. You can't feel any of the shimmer, but you just get a beautiful glow. You get a beautiful gloss effect that is so hydrating. And it's such a thin texture, so it's not opaque. It's not going to give you a lot of color payoff. It just makes your lips feel superb and really luscious. And I just love this formula. It is so luxurious feeling on the lips. So if I could recommend just one product, I think this is absolutely beautiful. You can use this to touch up. You can use this to prep your lips. You can just use this over top of a lip liner and you're good to go. And honestly, that's what I do for most looks. I tend to not use lipstick on my lips unless it's like a special occasion. This is what I use on a daily basis, on an everyday basis, and I love it. So this is the final look. These are using all of my 2021 luxury beauty favorites. I decided to just pull one product from my recommendations so I could give you a more curated list if I could just pick one from each category. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, let me know your 2021 beauty favorites down below because I love to chat about those. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.